Before jumping into the game itself, let's talk about who made this thing, because that actually explains a lot. Ghetto Zombies, Graffiti Squad, was developed by a small Brazilian indie studio called Fogo Games and published by indie-friendly publishers Mutant Games and Viso Games. This matters because this isn't a big-budget, focus-tested zombie game. This is a small team swinging for style over polish. The game clearly pulls inspiration from street art, graffiti culture, and favela aesthetics, and you can feel that identity baked into visuals, the humor, and even the music. Credit where it's due. The game absolutely has personality. The problem is that personality alone doesn't always carry a full game. The story setup is simple and honestly kind of fun on paper. You're in a zombie apocalypse, but instead of hardened soldiers or edgy survivors, the world's last hope is a group of mutant graffiti artists fighting back the undead while spray painting the city. It's ridiculous, self-aware, and clearly not taking itself seriously, which is fine, because the game leans into the energy hard. There were 4 playable characters, each with their own look and personality. However, in practice, the character choice doesn't matter as much as you'd expect. Each character has a special weapon, but it's temporary. Once that wears off, the game becomes far more about the guns you find than who you're playing as. Since you can carry 3 weapons at a time, and there are plenty of stronger guns later on, the character choice ends up feeling more cosmetic than meaningful. You can swap characters at any time by returning to your base, which is actually one of the game's better quality of life features. The game saves when you do this, lets you change characters, and even swap out weapons you've unlocked. But here's the catch. Character leveling does not transfer. If you switch characters, all your progress stays behind. Because of that, the game quietly punishes experimentation, and it's honestly best to pick one character and stick with them the entire time. Speaking of saving, this is important. The only real save point in the game is the base. Checkpoints exist, but they only matter if you die during a run. When you quit and come back, you load from the last save you visited at the base. So, if you forget to go back to the base before closing the game, congrats, you just lost progress. This makes the base less of a hub and more of a mandatory pit stop you have to remember to use. At first, the game is genuinely fun. You jump in, you spray graffiti, zombies show up, you mow them down, unlock new areas. Cool. The problem is that this never changes. Every level boils down to the same loop. Spray graffiti, attract zombies, kill zombies, move on. That's it. No remix, no twist, no escalation. What starts as fun turns into repetition fast. To borrow a painfully accurate analogy, the game starts as Cheerios, but you desperately waiting for it to become Lucky Charms, and never does. I spent about an hour per level, especially playing as Duda, just waiting for the boss key to finally appear so I knew the end was near. That's not tension, that's exhaustion. The zombies themselves are fine. There's enough variety to present different threats, ranged zombies, tanky ones, faster enemies, but not enough to stop the game from feeling like a slog. It honestly feels like the game wanted to be a wave-based survival shooter, but instead dressed those waves up as levels and locked areas. Let's be real. Those locked sections are just hidden loading screens. We all know what you're doing. You're not fooling anybody. Just commit to the wave-based design instead of pretending it's something else. The invincibility option is ironically the best feature of the game. Without it, dying after spending a long time clearing an area feels brutal, and not in a get good way, but in a why am I doing this way. There is no special ending, no unlockables, no bragging rights for finishing without invincibility. So honestly, turn it on. You'll still have to kill the same number of zombies. You'll just spend roughly an hour per level, and if you run out of ammo, invincibility doesn't save you from the pain anyway. At least this way you're not fighting the game in your own patience. Let's talk about the real boss of the game, reloading. Some weapons take up to 5 seconds to reload, and if you get hit even once, the reload cancels, you start over. That's not challenging, it's just annoying. There are Steam achievements encouraging you to use different weapon types, killing your zombies with melee, machine guns, shotguns, sniper rifles, and so on. And honestly, it's the only reason to tolerate some of these weapons. Aiming is also rough. The autolock doesn't always work, manually aiming barely helps, and shots frequently miss zombies entirely and hit the environment behind them. This becomes especially frustrating when trying to unlock sniper achievements, where accuracy actually matters. With only 4 levels, you expect some boss variety. Nope. 3 levels reuse the same boss, just with slightly different attacks. After repeating the same game loop for hours, hitting a recycled boss feels like a slap in the face. What makes it worse is that the mid-level bosses are actually more interesting and varied. Those should have been the main bosses. Instead, the game saves the weakest ideas for the biggest moments. If you're hoping for a big payoff at the end, don't. You defeat the final boss, get a quick "thanks for playing" screen, and you're kicked right back to the main menu. No credit roll, no cutscene, no unlockables. The credits are already available at the main menu anyway. The amount of time the game spends thanking you is roughly equal to reload time of one of the worst guns. Now, one thing I will give the game credit for is music. The soundtrack leans heavily into chiptune and retro electro, and at times it generally sounds like old school freestyle pop filtered through a pixel aesthetic. There were moments where it reminded me of Debbie Deb, not in a literal, licensed way, but in vibe. There's no confirmation of samples or direct influence, but if you ever heard that era music, your brain might make the same connection. And honestly, that vibe works. Ghetto Zombies, Graffiti Squad, is a game with a strong identity, cool ideas, and undeniable charm, but it overstays its welcome. What could have been a tight, chaotic arcade shooter ends up padded by repetition, slow pacing, and design choices that actively fight player enjoyment. If this was half as long, I'd be way kinder to it. If you're curious, go and turn on invincibility, vibe with the music, mess around with weapons, and don't expect a big payoff at the end. This is a game you sample, not one you savor. And hey, at least the graffiti looks cool while you're doing it.